there was a couple questions too about fiber specifically, and how many grams do you recommend? And I'm going to actually add something to that question as well, because I know if you greatly increase your fiber all at once, that can have kind of significant effects on your GI system. So what are your recommendations with that?
Yeah, as a general place, and that's another thing we'll track, like when people first, start working with us, is their food intake, but also like all the macros, calories, but then fiber as well. So we see what their kind of baseline is. And then we kind of go from there. I'm not super strict on like, you have to hit this fiber goal. I think it depends on the person. If there's someone with like higher cholesterol or blood sugar issues, I'll try to push fiber a little bit higher if they don't have any other gut issues. Just from like cholesterol point of view, more fiber to bind potentially high cholesterol and like help carry it out through waste. Blood sugar just help balance the slower absorption of carbohydrates. But some people, that don't tolerate a ton of fiber. I don't usually push it beyond like, if they're getting like 15 to 20 grams a day, I'm usually fine with that, unless there's another need to like say, okay, no, we need to push it higher. Or if they're on a lower amount of carbohydrates, then to help them feel full, we can push fiber up a little bit higher. But it's definitely a progression too. Yeah. So and especially with like people here, like, oh, I'm constipated, so I need more fiber, but they don't increase water at the same time, they get more constipated. So making sure those both go up at a relatively similar rate is really important as well.
Kind of hit this, but we'll just clarify for everybody. What is a good amount of daily fiber? Is it dependent on your current weight, or is there an average that is the same for everybody?
The general recommendation is 15 grams per 1,000 calories that you consume. So for guys, and like if you're having 2,000 calories a day, closer to 30 grams of fiber per day. But it's pretty individual. If you notice that you try to rapidly increase it and you have like some gut issues and bloating, probably just slow it down a little bit and gradually increase it.
Mm-hmm. Representing the like people who probably aren't sure if they're even getting enough fiber. Most of the people with Fit Meat are not tracking their food on a regular basis. So we have a few people who are using macro tracking as a tool or food journaling, but most people aren't. So like if we had to like circle back to basics, like how would I even know if I'm getting, we could I agree with using a food journal to track, but like just without tracking, what foods have fiber? Why do I care? Like if I should have fiber at all?
Yeah. So foods, that's an interesting question too, because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm having all these vegetables. We've increased like broccoli, cauliflower. They have spinach in their smoothies or salads. And they're like, my fiber is not very high. And that's also like, we'll look at the fiber number, but then we also look at the food that they're eating, because it's this big, long list of vegetables, but they're actually not that high in fiber, which can be totally fine. So that's why we look at, the actual foods that they're eating, and then also the number of like grams of fiber. But yeah, in general, if like someone has, like half their plate-ish of vegetables, I think that's, fine. I think, and especially if they're not having really like gut issues or anything like that, that's a good marker. Like you're getting a significant amount of plant matter. If they do need to like increase their actual grams of fiber that they're eating each day, then adding things like legumes, beans, that type of thing are going to give them more. Because fiber's essentially like the bones or the structure of the plant, right? And so you think about, holding up a spinach leaf versus a bean, like which one has more fiber? It's going to be the bean, right? Because it has more structure to it. So foods like that are going to contribute more fiber versus like the leafy, like high water type plants like broccoli, cauliflower, that type of thing. They won't have quite as much fiber, but yeah, I think in general, if people are having 2 out of the 3 meals, if those have like half your plate is vegetables or more, that's probably enough. That's kind of like the median where I should.
What happens if you don't get enough fiber? Like, does it impact weight loss? Does it impact like the quality of your poop? Like, what's the big deal if there's all day not so much vegetables?
Well, yeah, and that's a pretty individual one too. So people that are like thriving off of a ketogenic diet, they're probably going to have, depends on what kind of style of keto they're doing, but like might not be that high fiber. Even people that have used like the carnivore diet as like a reset, or it's basically like an extreme elimination diet, right? So, and I've heard of people that have really benefited for it as a reset, as far as like their gut microbiome and symptoms like that. Like they were having such a hard time handling plant matter. So, and you can do that, like slowly decrease and slowly increase again. But what was the original question?
I guess just like why bother, I guess is my point. Like if we had to give a reason to have a reasonable amount of fiber in our daily diet, like what's the reason?
Probably just bowel clearance. So, I mean, fiber is going to act like a broom, help sweeping matter and just food matter through the gut. It's going to help kind of turn over bacteria as well. Most of our waste is bacteria. So just helping with some of that clearance and help making sure that the bowels are stimulated to move as well. It'll help with that. Just providing more bulk, it'll make it waste easier to pass.
Now, maybe just you could answer this for people who have done like different kinds of like dietary approaches in the past where they've had to track, like even with Weight Watchers, like you got more food if you had more fiber. Like what's the deal with fiber and weight loss?
It keeps you fuller for longer. So yeah, like a lot of, I just had a patient at the clinic that's loving Weight Watchers. So I'm not going to like poo-poo it. Obviously she's having good results off of it, but all of her 0 points foods are like super high fiber foods. So they're going to keep her fuller for longer. They're not going to contribute in general to most or very much as far as calories. Beans and legumes and stuff will contribute more in carbohydrates, but they're going to be a little bit higher in fiber. So the net effect isn't going to be quite as much. But I think the major benefit is it's not going to impact your blood sugar that much. You'll have better energy sustained throughout the day instead of getting a bunch of energy off toast and then crashing because then your blood sugar drops. So it's going to keep you kind of even throughout the day is the major benefit, and just decrease hunger, which obviously makes dietary protocols easier to stick to if you're not hangry.
That's awesome. So those are like really good reasons why we should include fiber that are sort of living our best life kind of reasons, right?
Right. Yeah. Don't be hangry. Have less energy.
Like feel fuller, and also just feeling steady, maybe making better quality choices. Those are all great.
She's super pumped about gut health.
I know. She's ready.
Very pumped. She's super pumped. And which is funny, today I was feeding her a part of a banana for lunch. She doesn't do well. It's the one food she can't do well with because she gets constipated from too much banana. And I was chatting with one of the Fit Me members, Marlena, who's a pharmacist, and told me that one of the protocols for diarrhea is this thing called the like something diet, the brat, is it right? That is like rice and banana in it because it like binds you up.
Yeah, binds you up is right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's super.
Well, it provides bulk, right? Because it's insoluble.
Yeah. Soaks it up. So oatmeal, I think, is one of those ones too.
Down.
Yeah.
Yep. Ooh.
So it was like I accidentally fed Georgia that because the only like snack food that she gets that's like a thing from the store are these like rice crackers that I used to like entertain her with. And so she had banana and rice and got constipated for a few days. So now she only gets little bits of banana.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pretty common things with babies. And I remember my friend, like their pediatrician told her to just have Fiber One bars because they said more fiber because he was constipated. But I was like, anything better than like banana or something else, but
something better.
Gotta be. Man. But why do I see corn and I haven't had any in at least a week?
Might not have very good clearance, so that might be a good one to increase fiber and see if we can kind of push all of that stuff through. More fiber and some fasting, I would say that's probably the best things to help the bowels stimulate better clearance on a regular basis.